my face. Before I get started today, I have an announcement to make. It's an announcement that I forgot to make earlier. For those of you who come in via the front door, you won't know, but there is a table with bread out by the office. Please take some home. It will go to waste if you do not take it. So please take it. Even if you take it and feed it to the birds, that's allowed. All right. So I have been trying over the last few days to do something that is just not working. So I don't know if you've ever watched a child with one of those toys with the shapes, and they're trying to put the shapes into the holes, and it goes in, and they have the wrong shape, and they're trying to put it into the wrong hole. And you try as hard as you can to say to them, no, it goes in this other hole. But they are stuck on hole number one that is wrong. That's what I've been doing all week with this sermon, and I think with all of Lent. I was trying hard to make it into a series, and it's not a series. I came to that realization Thursday afternoon. This is not a series. I just have to give each of these sermons individually. Of course, it's Lent, and it being in Lent makes it part of the Lenten series, but I was trying to put these sermons together and trying to make them fit, and they don't necessarily fit together in an order. So I'm just kind of stuck with doing these individually. So, once I got past that, this sermon began to come together. So here we are with this scripture that really is two separate pieces. First, there's this whole idea about Peter and about him arguing with Jesus. So this is at a point in their relationship where Peter is not 100% sure that he really is God. But he has those thoughts, that idea that this is God. And he hears Jesus saying something that upsets him. It upsets him immensely that Jesus is talking about his own death, and that he must suffer and that he must die. And he gets upset with Jesus. In fact, he gets so upset with Jesus that he pulls him aside and he says to him, "What are you saying? You can't be talking about this." It's that same child who can only see one picture and is trying to jam that round block into that square hole, and it's just not working. Peter sees his friend Jesus, and Peter has these dreams of all the things that they will do as they grow old together. And Jesus is saying to Peter and to everyone else, I won't be here. I'm going to be leaving. And I think Peter misses the most important part of the message. Peter only hears, I am going to suffer and die. And Peter misses the end of the message, which is 3 days later, I'll live. How often are we like that? Are we so focused on the wrong thing that we don't see the place that might be right next to it where our peg fits? I love those times with my children. No, it goes in this hole. No, this hole. No, it goes in this hole. No, this hole. I do that too. My wife will tell me, do this. I go, no. She'll say, no, do this. I say, no. And then later I'll say to her, how come you didn't tell me to do that? And I get that look. You know the look. I told you what to do. Don't blame me. And I go, yeah, you're right. Or I go, no, I didn't say that. Or you didn't say that to me. An argument ensues. That's exactly what happens with Peter and Jesus. Peter hears something he doesn't want to hear. And so he pulls Jesus aside and he tells him, cut it out. Stop that. We've got plans. I've got plans. I've got plans for you and this ministry that we have together and the changes that we can make in our world. And Jesus says, stop. And if you look at the scripture, Jesus doesn't just say stop to Peter. He says stop to all the disciples. He pulls them all into this conversation that he is having with Peter. And he says to them, you have to stop. It's not your plan. It's not your heart. It's not your desire. It's God's plan. Oh, now we're getting close. Now we're getting close to where it becomes difficult. It becomes hard when we have to put aside our plan and we have to accept that there's another plan. That moment of realization, when you realize what I am doing is not working. And sometimes you just have to turn a little bit to the side, move over just one little shape, fits right in. No problem. It's hard to deal with. It's hard to deal with the fact that we can sometimes say to ourselves, I was wrong. It's a difficult thing. But Jesus doesn't dwell on Peter's desire for Jesus to live. In fact, he goes on to teach people that if they want to be a part of the kingdom of God, they have to set aside what it is that they want. We have to set aside what it is that we want. And we have to look. We have to look around and find out what God has called us to do, called us to be. And we have to pick that up. And we have to move forward. It's funny. This is the part of the sermon where I whine about wanting to live in Michigan, but I'm stuck here in Ohio, but it's part of God's plan. But the reality is, it goes even for simpler things. Like, no one tells you when you're 22 years old that when you're in your 50s, you have to help take care of your parents and be available to help them if you're lucky enough to have parents when you're in your 50s or 60s. No one tells you that your body begins to fall apart the older that you get. And the things that you could easily do in your 20s, you can only dream of doing in your 50s or in your 60s. No one tells you that how you thought at the age of 25 is not how you will think at the age of 50. And I can't wait to see what it is that I think about at 75, if I still have my mind. We are people who want things our own way. And we live in a society that tells us that it's okay to get your own way, even if you have to go into debt. Even if you make your life miserable with the things that you want. We live in a society where it's okay. It's all right to get that next thing, to buy that newest model, to get these better than before, to get this version of whatever it is that you want. It's all right. If it makes you feel good, go ahead and do it. And Jesus is telling us exactly the opposite. Jesus is saying the life that we are called to as Christians will involve sacrifice. You see, that's what he was trying to say to the disciples when he talked about he must suffer and die. That there would have to be a sacrifice for eternal life. We're in the midst of Lent. And hopefully you are taking a closer look at your relationship with God and who you are and where you are as a Christian. And hopefully you begin to see these areas in your life that need to be changed. It's funny. You could be in the midst of a good week, and then one event can change that entire week. And change it from a good week into, not so good a week, or just an okay week. And you're stuck dwelling on that event that occurred. And Jesus is saying to his disciples and to us, come to me, seek me out, and I will show you where I want you to be. Now, for some of us, we're in that place. And it's just a matter of staying focused. If your place is teaching somebody, or if your place is helping somebody, if your place is your job, many people are called to their work. As a minister, in ministry, we talk about being called to ministry. But somehow that doesn't translate into lay people's lives. And I know there are people who are called to their jobs. They witness to who God is in their everyday life and in the work that they do. And then there are a whole other group of people who minister to people from this place, I've heard about it, I dream about it, that place we call retirement. I keep hearing people talking about this place, retirement, and how much busier they are once they have retired. And how they don't have time to do the things that they thought they would be able to do because they're helping out, helping others, helping family, helping church, helping community. An opportunity to free ourselves to be the best Christians we can be. To look for and see where God is calling us. So if you feel like in your life things continually are not going your own way, maybe it's time to take a step back. To look at the shape of the peg in your hand, see that it's round, and look for the round hole on the board in front of you and stop jamming that round peg into that square hole, where the only way it's going to fit is if there's a hammer involved. And maybe it's time to follow where God is leading us. And just let him guide us into that place where we can make a difference in God's world. And don't think that what you do is not important. Because every person, every cross is important. It has a lot to do with faith. So when we think of people of faith, and this is one of the things that I mentioned in the weekly word this week, was to think about people of faith who have affected our lives. And so, one of the stories that we read about, or that was in the extra scriptures that I sent out, was the story of Abraham and Sarah. Abram and Sarai were old. really old. And an angel of God showed up and said, "You're going to have a child." And Abram believed it. And Sarai laughed. And God said, Abram, because you are faithful, I'm going to change your name to Abraham, and you're going to become the father of many nations. And Abraham had the faith to just move forward into God's plan, to just step out, to have faith. It's so easy to read about, but it's really hard to do. To have that faith. To step into the lion's den as Daniel and know that no matter what happens, God will be with me. To be Jonah on the ship that's being tossed about, and to know that if I just jump off this ship in the middle of the ocean, I'm going to save these people who are being punished because of me, and God will take care of me. And that if I drown in the ocean, that's okay. But that I'm going to do what God has called me to do. He gets swallowed by a fish. But he stepped out in faith, jumped out of the boat. A bunch of those guys were happy to see him go. Peter, the same guy that we're talking about, he had a moment where he stepped out of the boat in faith and walked on water for just a step or two before he lost focus. Abraham is remembered as faithful because he continued down the path that God called him to go down. Daniel is remembered as faithful because he believed that God would be with him no matter what. Jonah. We talk about Jonah and the whale and the people of Nineveh that he saved, even though he didn't want to, because he continued to follow God in faith. I think about all the people in my life who helped me. The parents and grandparents who were patient with me when I wasn't patient with myself. For the neighbor who saw something in me and mentored me and helped me become who I am. For the principal who had to punish me to keep me in line and said, "There's real leadership in you if you'll just stop being so contrary." For the people in my life who continue to witness to me, to the church that witnesses to me, that says mission is not just an option, it's a call. It's been amazing to be here. We stood in the back today and somebody asked me, "How many years have you been here?" And I went, I'm not that person. I'm telling you, I'm not that person. I have to do the math to figure out how old I am when it's my birthday. I have to do the math to figure out how many years I've been married when that anniversary comes around. If I wanted to tell you how old I was, or what my anniversary, or how many years I've been married, I would have to sit here and do the math right now. Because I just don't remember those things. So I said, I don't know, 7, 8, 9. How old was Cody when he came? I don't know. Wasn't Emma in school? Well, yeah, Emma was in school, but I don't know what grade she was in. I have to go back and look. It's just not that important to me. I want to stay focused. I want to stay focused on my faith. I want to stay focused on the church. I want to stay focused on my family. And those three things can conflict. Don't think that they don't. And there's a balance to be had. Abraham and Sarah had a child from that child, a nation was created. And we are children of Abraham. And you say to me, wait a minute, whoa, I'm not a child of Abraham. But the reality is, legally, no. Legally, no, I am not a child of Abraham. But spiritually, I am. I've been adopted into the family because I'm a believer, follower of Christ. And as a follower of Christ, we are called by faith to follow where he leads us. Which brings us right back to that point. Peter was stepping out in front of the line. Stop telling those people that you're going to die. That's not the plan. This is the plan. We're going to move forward. And Jesus said to him, get behind me. God has a plan. And we have to remember to follow along. We have to use those people of faith that we have seen in our lives and in the stories of the Bible that lead us on to continue to follow God. We are a people of faith. And when you see your call, when you see your place where you are supposed to go, and you pick up that cross, whether it be teaching, or working in a hospital, or working on a computer, or being a minister, or being the best grandparent you could possibly be, or by helping a community in need, it fits. When I went into ministry, I do remember this one, in 2001, it fit like a comfortable pair of slippers. It was like I was in exactly the right place. And I still feel that way today. I think when we're following where God has called us, it fits. It's comfortable. It's like a broken-in coat that everybody says, you should get rid of that. It's falling apart. No, it's my favorite coat. Or it's like a purse that holds everything you want it to hold perfectly and still looks good. It's like a pair of shoes that are old and broken in, but they are exactly right for my feet. It's like a child with a round peg who finds the round hole and it just slips in it. You see the joy and the wonder. Round goes with round. Square goes with square. God calls us to be faithful. Be faithful. Each and every day. Will you pray with me? God of grace and mercy, we give thanks for this day. Give us the strength to be faithful to you, not just in the easy times, but in the difficult times as well. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
Will you love the you hide if I but call your name? Will you quell the fear inside and never be the same? Will you use the faith you found to reshape the world around through my sight and touch and sound in you and you in me? Lord, your summons echoes true when you but call my name. Let me turn and follow you and never be the same. In your company I'll go, where your love and footsteps show. Thus I'll move and live and grow in you, and you in me.
Go forth from this place in faith and follow God.